You feel that, boys and girls? It's Cappy being able to do what he wants because he doesn't have a ton of requests on his own consulting company going on. So I've been meaning to do a bit of office cleaning and housework and house clean, whatever they call it. And one of the things I really did want to push and want to promote him more was Dr. Maloney at histherapist.com. He does not pay me. He is not a sponsor. He does not advertise with me. He is a previous client of mine for business purposes, and he wanted to know if he should start his own psychological practice for men. I said, hell yes. Hell yes. And he's a real psychologist and all that, doctorate and everything, and he gainfully employed and had to go and do his own thing and set this up. And he finally did. He executed on it, which is, I think, the mark of an impressive man, because most people say they're going to do things. Very few people do it. And he did it good. He's got a really sharp. I know that's not the main selling point of his services or his product, but his website is very well done. And he put a lot of thought and time and effort into it. But the larger point is that for the most, it's my opinion. I could be wrong. One, I think the psychology industry, for the most part, is bunk. It is instances of neurochemistry or neuropsychology and things like that, where there's an actual scientific method. But in it being unadhering to the scientific method, and a lot of cute theories, some which have come and gone. Give you an example. As of recently, literally in the 80s, they were still doing handwriting analysis to see if you'd be a good job candidate. So because it's an amorphous industry, there's a lot of room for charlatans and just moneymakers, snake oil salesmen to come in and capitalize on that. That is not to say that it's not, in some cases, vitally important that you get to talk to somebody who's an unbiased third party who could kind of step outside your own personal situation and look at it and assess it. And whereas I'm not a big believer in the validity or the veracity of psychology or the psychology industry, I do believe if you've gone through some kind of training and program where you're certified that you could be a counselor, you might have some insights and some skills that are of benefit than just talking to some dumb schmo like me or friends who are biased. If anything, it's just to eliminate the bias. Ask my mom. She think you're just a wonderful boy. Every girl should like you. It's like, thanks, Mom. Why does it all? Why am I not amazing? And so, especially nowadays, especially you younger men out there. And here's another thing. I'll point this about my opinion again about the psychology. It's heavily skewed to women and feminism. Not just women. It's because you want to be pro women, of course, obviously, but feminism, which I would say is absolutely anti-male nowadays. Absolutely villainizing you men and blaming the problems of women on you. And it is disproportionately populated, not just by feminist, leftist type of, and I don't want to bring politics into it, but their ideology is ulterior to their goal and desire to help their client. And it's biased towards women, not in a way they've channeled the study, but a disproportionate percent of people who major in psychology are women, and women are not men. And I have met Dr. Helen Smith is a perfect example. I knew another psychologist in Wyoming. These are good women, good psychologists, and I recommend anyone to them. Not if you're a guy. Men who need help need a male psychologist. And you could go talk to a female psychologist too, but get a guy in there. Because women don't understand men on some things. Men don't understand women on some things. Get a guy psychologist, because unfortunately for every instance of a great female psychologist that I've ran into, like a Dr. Helen Smith, like that doc over in Wyoming, I think I've heard at least 8 or 9 stories where usually it happens in marriage counseling, where you walk in and it's just a feminist screed. I remember one time I was dating a genuinely mentally ill girl. She was bipolar and bulimic. I was young and stupid. I didn't know. It's like, yeah, not my problem. Bye. You're an NPC, dysfunctional. Bye. You're bad. Bye. I did the stupid back when remember when you were a good guy? Remember when that happened, guys? Long ago in the before time. I went to a therapist with this guy, like, hey, you got to get this taken care of here. Let's go talk to it. Because I thought it was like a science. Here's this soy boy, bearded, looking like Robin Williams in in that lame movie, Good Will Hunting, where he's all, or no, was it The Professor? Which one was it where he dressed like a bum? That's who he had. Well, what are you doing to this situation? Like, she pukes up her food. What are you talking about? Forget me. What, is that normal? You know? So you just need someone who is not inculcated and who would otherwise be a good therapist, good psychologist, had it not been for their complete political indoctrination and brainwashing that prevents them and mars them and makes them unable to actually treat the client. And so to eliminate that layer of confusion or inability to associate with the client, dude, guys, just go talk to a guy therapist. I think y'all should just go talk to Dr. Maloney just for a checkup, because if you think about it, guys have not exactly had it great the past 30, 40 years. We're blamed for everything. Our entire nature is toxic. By the way, the American Psychological Association, don't know if you remember, came out with a report saying that masculinity is toxic. And the Gillette, society really doesn't like men. And we don't even have to go into the sex war or the psychological ramifications of having like the number one thing in your life taken away from you. That would be women, who are now completely programmed to pursue career, education, and themselves before falling in love. It's destroyed families. There's divorce. Oh my gosh. Like a divorce rate of 50%. Come on. Don't tell me this guy shouldn't have a line out his door. And it's not right. It's not fair. It's not just. And, even though it's very specific, one of the things it's not psychological either. This book, where I do the numbers and the data, if anything that's in this book that's going to help you boys, it's to prove to you that it's not your fault. Now, again, with a big asterisk right down there. Sometimes it usually is your fault. Okay. You got to try, you got to put in the effort, all that other stuff. But when you look at the numbers that are outside of your control, the numbers that were outside of your control are not your fault. And it gets into divorce and things and stuff like that. But when society is telling you it is your fault and you're not doing enough, blah, 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 that causes confusion, causes pain. And so what I recommend, you go talk to Dr. Maloney, histherapist.com. The link is down below. I may even go talk to him because I've been through some crazy crap in my life. And just now things are finally getting stable. And it's kind of like this. We were talking about it, and we've mentioned it on the show before. I really should get the official term, but it's like a latent post-traumatic stress disorder. But it wasn't a trauma, an individual trauma. It's just a really crappy situation for decades of your life. Many of you who've come from broken homes or poverty, and then you're let out. And you could be perfectly fine and stable. You came up from nothing. But that doesn't change the fact that for 20 years you were poor. Your parents weren't around. You didn't know where you'd be living. This is a somewhat familiar story to many people. I think we share somewhat of a similar story here that has a cause and consequence. So anyway, I just wanted to plug him again, histherapist.com. I wish I plugged him more earlier, but I've been busy with taxes and all that other stuff. And it's worth it, man. Let's help each other out. And I think he charges $100 an hour. Maybe not. Don't quote me on that. Okay, whatever it is, I'll tell you this. It's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper than Miss Patty Cake Feminist. Like, it's your fault. Yeah! Usually your relationship with a therapist should start out not on the foundation of she hates you. It's just Fred Freeman Sowell for $2. Psychology is for the girls, lazy people, and frauds. Rafi Federico for £2 British. It's too late to help most men. Many are doomed now. Well, it brings up an interesting question here, Rafi. They're still alive. I mean, and okay, maybe you're doomed, or maybe, our fate is going to be what our fate is going to be, but that doesn't mean you have to be miserable. What's his name? Oh, why can't I remember his name? I hung out with him in New Mexico, and he went through his own personal hell. And one thing I remember him saying is like, I don't worry about it. I said, why aren't you worried about this? He was looking for property to buy. I was like, aren't you worried about this? He's like, I don't worry anymore. And he was like so stoic about it. I was like, wow. And like, he refuses to let himself worry because he doesn't. And he's in now, whatever his fate is going to be, that's what his fate is going to be. But he is the minimum at least the most self-respecting thing that individual man's going to do. The minimum he's going to do for himself is to not torture himself the rest of his life worrying. And that's something I'm aspiring to. I was like, wow, that's so it's not, well, we're doomed to our fate. That we are doomed. It's like, do you want to enjoy the decline along the way or be angry and pissed off the entire time? And so I prefer not to get angry. I try to this is why I don't pay attention to the news. That's why I do not waste my time with inferior people, be it lazy people who don't work, welfare bums, feminists, socialists, communists, vegans, people who don't work out, people who don't avail themselves alive, people who like, hey, you want to get up here? Oh, we're hanging a pot rack. The pot rack people. I don't hang out with the pot rack people anymore. I used to try, like, hey, let's go. Oh, we're going to hang a pot rack. No, my friends. Fred Freeman saw $2. Western women hate us. Eastern women still love us. I wouldn't. That's really simplifying it a lot. I don't think Western women hate us. Some do. You know, there's what, 1 billion of them. You know, obviously, within that, there's going to be some genuine haters, but they are adversarial towards us. I don't think they hate us. Some do, and it's an increasing number. I'll grant you that. I don't think they full on hate us. I think they just distrust. They don't like. They certainly do not love or cherish. That's another thing. And they view you as the competitor and adversary who must be defeated, not vanquished or killed. I don't think they hate. They really view us as it's the oppressor victim mindset. I'll grant you that. They view us as oppressors because that's how they've been trained to. We're not teammates. We're not lovers. We're not, it's like, nope, it is, you start K through college, but I think hate is too strong a word. Eastern women still love us. We'll find out. I don't know if I go there either, because I see a lot of Eastern cultures, whether it be Eastern Europe or more classically Orientally, Asian women. They may appreciate you, but there's still that money issue. They're always sending money back home. So there is a transactional affection, not a pure and romantic one. Mexi Mike, $5. I was able to catch yesterday's Corona Chan, Helen Lovejoy from The Simpsons, the priest wives. Oh, won't someone please think of the children? Alex Patino, our Latino truck driving agent in the field. I'm 36 years old, and the VA tried to get me go see a female therapist younger than me. I didn't bother to go back. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever seen Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood, and he's got to be in his 80s at that time, or at least his 70s, an older man playing a certain role. And what I love about it, how there's this 26-year-old pastor who's trying to lecture and moralize Clint Eastwood's character, who's this, grizzled Korea vet. And yeah, you want to go at least ideally someone older than you, ideally, but it depends how old you are. Maybe just old. The perfect would be that grizzled Vietnam vet psychologist who I've yet to find. I don't know where he is. Dr. Maloney is too young to be a Vietnam vet. But he's what we got. He's what we got. So we got that there. All right. Anyway, so go check him out. I got another ad coming along the way, a new podcast I want to recommend to you guys. So tune into the next one. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.